I have $1,000 in liquid savings. I am 53 years old. I have a master's degree in library science and a second master's in American history. I oversee 81 library branches across 77 neighborhoods in the city of Chicago, and I make $434,000 a year. I know what that sounds like. I also know what 47,000 sounds like. We'll get there. Okay, let's start with income. Source 1. My city salary. I am the commissioner of the Chicago Public Library. That is my title, my job, and my identity, in that order. I report to the mayor. I manage a staff of roughly 1,000 people. I oversee a budget of over $100 million. My salary is $220,000 a year. W-2. One employer. The City of Chicago. Source 2. Private consulting. This is the part people don't know about. For 25 years, before I ran a library system, I was a specialist in rare books and historical manuscripts. I have a trained eye. I know what a document is worth. I know what it's worth in 15 years. So I consult. For estate attorneys who've inherited a collection and don't know what they have, for university libraries trying to acquire specific items, for private collectors who want to know if what they paid at auction was reasonable. Gross consulting income last year, $180,000. Business expenses, travel to auction houses, professional memberships, reference databases, my consulting office in Printers Row came to $16,000. Net self-employment income from consulting, $164,000. Source 3. Rental income. My late uncle left me a 2-flat in Hyde Park in 2011. I live in the owner's unit. I rent the garden apartment below. Net rental income after mortgage interest, property taxes on that unit, maintenance, and depreciation, $50,000. Total pre-tax income, $434,000. Bonus, 0. My city position does not have a performance bonus. The consulting work either finds me or it doesn't. Dividend income, 0. Everything I have in investments is in retirement accounts and real estate. I am not pulling dividends. Total pre-tax income, $434,000. Post-tax monthly calculation. Now let's talk about what actually lands in my checking account. Pre-tax monthly gross, $36,167. City 457B, deferred compensation. This is my retirement contribution on the W-2 side. The city also has a pension, which I'll get into, but I also max my 457B every year. The 2026 limit is $23,500. That's about $1,958 a month. It goes in automatically. I do not look at it. I learned a long time ago not to grieve money you never touched. SEPRA on my consulting income. This is the self-employed equivalent. I contribute $30,000 a year, which is $2,500 a month. That number is deliberate. My accountant would like me to contribute more. I would like to buy a Ptolemy map I've had my eye on for 2 years. FICA on the W-2 salary. Social Security, 6.2%, up to the wage base of $176,100, so that's $10,918 for the year, about $910 a month. Medicare, 1.45% on the full salary, plus an additional 0.9% on income over $200,000. Combined Medicare on the W-2 comes to about $3,370 a year. which is $281 a month. Total FICA from my city paycheck, about $14,288 a year, or $1,191 a month. Self-employment tax on the consulting. Here is where things get interesting. Because my W-2 salary is $220,000, I've already blown past the Social Security wage base, so there's no SS portion of the C tax on the consulting income. What I do owe is Medicare on both sides, 2.9% on the C tax base, plus the additional 0.9% because all of my consulting income is above the $200,000 combined threshold. Total C tax, about $5,755 a year, which is $480 a month. Federal income taxes. After the standard deduction, the 457B, the CPRA, and the deductible half of my C tax, my taxable income sits at $361,522. I am in the 35% marginal bracket. My effective rate on that taxable income works out to about 26.4%.
Total federal tax, $95,302 a year, $7,942 a month. Illinois state taxes, flat 4.95%, no brackets, no games. On my AGI of $377,622, that's $18,692 a year, $1,558 a month. I have made my peace with it. No city income tax. Chicago does not tax income at the city level. I mention this every time someone complains about Chicago in my presence. New York City doctors are writing a check for an extra 4% to the city. I am not. Post-tax monthly take-home, $20,539. Total annual take-home pay, $246,462. Total monthly take-home, $20,539. All right, let's go category by category. Rent. Technically, none. I own the condo, but I carry a mortgage on the two-flat. My unit is the owner's unit. The garden apartment below generates the rental income. I treat my share of the mortgage and carrying costs as roughly equivalent to what I'd be paying in rent, which is why there's a zero here. It nets out against the rental income I already counted in income. The condo, for reference, is a 2-bedroom, 2-bath in Hyde Park, 1 block off the Midway, 12-foot ceilings, original woodwork from 1923, and approximately 1,400 volumes on the shelves, which my wife calls a health hazard and I call a library. Groceries, $520 a month. Treasure Island on 55th Street before it closed was a tragedy I have not fully recovered from. Now it's mostly Mariano's on 47th, occasionally the Hyde Park Co-op when I want to feel like it's 1987, and a once-a-month run to the Eastern European Market on Milwaukee Avenue for things I can't find anywhere else. Smoked fish, certain mustards, dark rye bread that my father used to buy. I don't cook much on weeknights. See the dining section. Utilities, $220 a month. Gas, electric, internet, Xfinity, who I have a purely transactional relationship with that I resent deeply. The building is old and beautiful and not particularly efficient. My gas bill in February is its own kind of education. Student loans, $0. I finished my MLIS in 1997. My father paid for state school. The library program was funded by a fellowship.
I am aware this is not the universal experience, and I do not take it for granted. Credit card debt. 0. I pay my card in full every month. This is the one financial discipline I have maintained without exception for 30 years. The card is a Chase Sapphire Reserve. I use the travel points for the Frankfurt Book Fair every other year, and I feel absolutely no guilt about it. Investments. Brokerage account. $1,500 a month. Index funds. Boring. Correct. Laundry. In unit. 0. Car. 0. I do not own a car. I have not owned a car since 2003, when I sold a Volkswagen that had developed an opinion about starting in cold weather. Hyde Park has the Metra. The library system has a vehicle I can use when I need to visit branches. I have not missed car ownership once. Public transportation. $65 a month. Metra electric line to the Loop for work, with the occasional CTA trip. The Metra from Hyde Park to downtown is one of the genuinely underrated transit experiences in this city. 20 minutes, lake views on the right side, and you arrive at Millennium Station walking distance from everything. Consulting office, Printers Row, $650 a month. Small suite on Dearborn, desk, a meeting table, a few pieces of reference furniture, and a climate-controlled storage area where I keep items clients leave with me for evaluation. The address matters for the work. You don't tell an estate attorney that you appraise rare manuscripts from your kitchen. Mother support, $900 a month. My mother is 81 years old and lives in Skokie. Her Social Security and pension cover the basics. When something comes up, a specialist appointment not covered by Medicare, a repair in her building, the trip I take her on every summer, a Saturday when I take her to the Art Institute and then to the German place on Western that she's been going to since before I was born, I cover it. She does not ask me to. I don't wait to be asked.
So total responsible spending, it's $3,205.
Fun and random, $750 a month. Jazz at the Green Mill in Uptown. I've been going since 1994. I have a preferred seat, and I will continue until either I or the Green Mill stops functioning. Bulls tickets a handful of times a year. I am a fan of the team on a geological timescale, meaning I have watched them lose for long enough that it now feels like a relationship I'm committed to for reasons beyond logic. Books from the used shops on Milwaukee Avenue and near Seminary Co-op. Now here is where I have to be honest with myself about what counts as fun and what counts as a problem. Alcohol. $380 a month. I am a wine person.
I have a small wine storage unit in the basement of the building. About 60 bottles, nothing ostentatious, mostly Burgundy and Rhone. 2 glasses with dinner most nights at home. 2 or 3 evenings a month out with my wife or a colleague. The Promontory in Hyde Park. Occasionally Bar Biscay in Westtown when we're feeling like a destination. I spend more on wine at home than I spend at restaurants, which I understand is the opposite of most people's situation. Ubers and Lyfts, $420 a month. No car, so this is what it costs. Airport trips, late nights after events, visits to suburban clients with collections I can't evaluate remotely. February is the cruelest month. I took 17 Ubers in February alone last year because standing at the Metra platform at 6:30 in the morning when it is -8 degrees is simply not something I am willing to do anymore at 53. Total irresponsible, $1,550 per month. Eating out and delivery, $2,400 a month. I need you to sit with that number. I know what it looks like.
My wife and I eat out probably 5 nights a week. Sometimes it's Virtue in Hyde Park, which is the best restaurant in this neighborhood and possibly the best argument for staying in this neighborhood permanently. Sometimes it's Osaka Ramen on 53rd when I don't want to make a decision. Sometimes it's a DoorDash order of birria tacos at 10 p.m. on a Tuesday because I finished reading a manuscript appraisal and I'm hungry and the kitchen is dark. 2 client dinners a month. Those are business meals, technically, but the habit doesn't change. I once described myself to my accountant as someone who loves cooking, and then he asked when I last cooked, and I said I believe it was a Sunday in October, and he asked which October, and I couldn't tell him. Travel, $1,500 a month averaged. I attend the London Book Fair every year, the Frankfurt Book Fair every other year. I count these as professional travel, and they are, genuinely. But I also spend an extra 3 days in each city eating and walking around, so let's be honest about what's happening. We take one personal vacation a year, usually Europe. My wife is a historian. We go where there are archives. Last year it was Lisbon. The year before, Vienna. We are not beach people. Gym. East Bank Club, $290 a month. It is expensive. It is also across the river from the Harold Washington Library Center, where my office is. I go at 6:30 in the morning, 3 days a week. The East Bank Club has a pool, a squash court, and the kind of locker room where someone offers you a towel. I am 53 years old, and I am not going to Planet Fitness. Hair, $60 a month. Barbershop on 57th in Hyde Park. Same barber, Darnell, for 11 years. He cuts my hair the same way every time and asks me how the library system is doing, and I tell him the truth. He is one of maybe 4 people outside of the library board who gets the unvarnished version. Clothes, $700 a month. I need good suits for City Hall. I need good sport coats for the work I do consulting. When you walk into an estate and you're telling a family what their grandmother's collection is worth, you cannot look like you borrowed someone's blazer. I also buy things I don't need. A cashmere sweater in October. A particular shade of gray tweed from a tailor on Michigan Avenue whose name I won't say on camera because I don't want the waiting list to get longer. Coffee, $195 a month. 2 coffees a day. The first is from the cafe on the ground floor of the Harold Washington Library Center, which I consider a point of civic pride. I like supporting the space I run. The second is from whatever is nearest to wherever I am at 2 in the afternoon. I have never made coffee at home. My wife makes coffee at home. I drink it if it is offered. Subscriptions, $180 a month. Streaming services, several newspaper subscriptions, The Tribune, The Times, The Guardian on weekends, The New Yorker, various reference databases I use for consulting work that I maintain personally even when the library system would pay for them because I don't want my personal research showing up in city databases. It adds up faster than it should. Personal book purchases, $1,800 a month on average. And here is where this stops being a budget video and starts being a confession. I buy rare books. I buy them at auction, Swan Galleries in New York, heritage auctions, occasionally directly from colleagues who are liquidating collections. I buy them from dealers I've known for 20 years. I have, in my home, a first edition of The Adventures of Augie March, signed, Hyde Park copy, Bello bought it at the co-op, that I paid $8,000 for and would not sell for twice that. I have an 18th century French map of the Great Lakes that I justified as research for a library acquisition and then kept. I have a collection of Chicago ephemera, theater programs, ward maps, labor pamphlets from the 1910s that no insurance company has ever seen. I know what this looks like on a spreadsheet. I know. But I also want you to understand that I have spent 30 years telling people that books are worth preserving. I believe it. I believe it with money. And the money has gone somewhere beautiful, even if my liquid savings don't reflect it.
For total bonus spending, it's $7,125.
City of Chicago pension. This is the big number that doesn't look like a savings account, but is the most important asset I have. After 22 years in Chicago's library system, my pension benefit is projected at roughly $82,000 a year, beginning at 60 years old. I do not see this money now, and it does not appear anywhere in my monthly budget. But when I am 60, it is there. It changes the calculus on what I need to save in the traditional sense. 457B deferred compensation balance, $214,000. I've been maxing this since I became commissioner in 2011. It grows. I don't touch it. SIPRA balance, $118,000. Started contributing seriously about 4 years ago on the consulting side. Growing. Brokerage account, $31,000. I started putting $1,500 a month into index funds 14 months ago. Before that, I was investing exactly nothing outside of retirement accounts, which my wife has had feelings about for several years. Cash savings, $47,000. High-yield savings account. This is the number from the beginning. This is the one that on paper looks wrong. Let me tell you what happened to the rest. The books. Over 20 years of buying at auction and from dealers, I have spent, I've done the math, reluctantly, somewhere between $400,000 and $450,000 on personal rare book and manuscript acquisitions. Many of them have appreciated. Several of them are worth meaningfully more than I paid. None of that is liquid. None of that shows up in a savings account. What I have is a collection that would require a specialist to appraise and a very specific kind of buyer to sell. I am not selling them. But I want you to know where the money went, because it did not go to Vegas, and it did not go to bad decisions. It went to objects that will outlast me. The consulting office was not always profitable. The first 3 years I ran it as a serious business, I lost money more months than I made it. That is money that is gone. My mother's needs have fluctuated. Some years it was $500 a month. Some years it was $2,000. It doesn't go on a spreadsheet as a category. It just goes. Total savings, $410,000, including retirement accounts, brokerage, and cash. Or, if you want to count the collection, considerably more. If you want to count the pension, something else entirely. Short term. I want $100,000 in liquid cash within 18 months. I am going to slow the book purchases. I am going to slow them. I have put a soft cap of $1,000 a month on personal acquisitions going forward, which my wife considers a victory, and I consider a negotiated truce. Long term. The pension is the plan. When I'm 60, that income kicks in. At that point, I would like to step back from the city role, not disappear from the library world, but shift. Run the consulting practice full time. Write the book about Midwest library history I've been drafting in my head since 2009. Travel more deliberately, not as business with a personal extension, but as the actual point. My wife and I have talked about staying in Hyde Park. The neighborhood has the lake, the parks, the museum, the university. It still feels like a real city neighborhood, in a way that many of Chicago's neighborhoods have stopped feeling. I'm aware this is a thing people say right before they leave.
I don't think we'll leave. This is where the Harold Washington Library Center is. This is where 81 branches of the Chicago Public Library are. This is where I have spent my professional life. I'm the commissioner of the Chicago Public Library. I make $434,000 a year. I have $47,000 in savings and approximately 600 rare books I will never sell. And this is how I spend my money.